Hello everyone, welcome back to the Chess Journey to National Master. This episode I'll be covering round 7 of Open Sabir Ali. And in this round I got paired up against Tiago Teixeira. And I had the white pieces. I couldn't really prepare for the game because he didn't really have games online to show. So I decided to start with d4, switch up things a little bit. d5 by my opponent, I went knight f3, which I usually don't do. Knight c6, and here, yeah, I was very confused. I've never played against this OTB, like knight c6. It's a Shigorian. I knew that, I knew the name, but yeah, I had no clue about how to handle these positions. I was thinking of playing e3 before the game, just go for a call system, very simple. But after knight c6 I decided to go for a London system because why not? My opponent plays knight c6 on the second move, I guess I can play the London and be fine. Bishop f5 my opponent, makes a lot of sense. And now I play a3. I knew that a3 wasn't the best move because it's super slow. But let's analyze the match, like situation, the game, like probably I thought that my opponent, this would be his main weapon against d4, the Shigori, so why try to punish his opening if I don't know any theory? Like, I don't want to get into sharp lines where my opponent knows more than me from the beginning. So I decided, okay, this is probably not the best move, but it makes sense to me to stop knight before, and it can't be that bad. So okay, my opponent plays a6, and now I think to myself, yeah, I don't think my opponent also knows theory, because a6 looks like it's not the move, you know. Just like a3, it looked like a very passive and slow move that wasn't really achieving anything concrete. Like a6, even less, I think, because I'm not threatening anything on b5, but okay. e3 developing normally, knight f6, c4 now. Okay, yeah, c4 is... it's thematic in these positions because of the knight on c6, it's hard for the opponent to play c6 and support the center, so c4 makes sense. e6, knight c3, and here my opponent took for me on c4, which I was happy because I developed the bishop in one tempo. He played bishop d6, I played bishop g5, and yeah, here I could play bishop g3. I think taking is never good because it fixes his structure, and all of a sudden his knight looks good. So bishop g5. My opponent plays bishop e7. Here I castle, he castles, and now I play h3. The h3 is kind of weird. I guess I was trying to stop bishop g4, but I don't know if it was a threat. But okay, it's a very quiet an innocent move. I guess it doesn't really hurt my position, but I would, if it was to die, I would probably go rook c1 because it's at least developing a piece. Here goes h6 again, and now here I play bishop h4, which misses an opportunity to change the position in my favor. Here I could take on f6, and after bishop takes e4, all of a sudden this h3 move makes a lot of sense because he can't pin my knight, so he would have to go to g6, and now I can push e5. Let's say bishop e7. In this position, just like this, you can see that white is clearly better. It's just a piece activity, the space, and I can even win the bishop pair immediately with the like d5 takes, and here, and yeah, there's no real place for this bishop to hide, and we keep the pressure going. But I missed this completely. I didn't even think about taking the knight. And yeah, now my opponent gets a bunch of trades. Here I play rook c1, rook fd8, I take on e4, it takes with the bishop, and now I play knight d2, bishop g6, and here I thought for a long while. I just didn't know what to do to continue. I didn't like this pin along the d file, so I decided to play queen f3. Just to get the queen out of the way and maybe put pressure in the future on this knight plus pawn. But yeah, I completely missed that my opponent has some resources here. My opponent played queen h4, which we're gonna get into it in a bit. But here I think e5 would be very unpleasant to meet. Already like putting a lot of pressure on my position, you know. Like I can't take because the knight is pinned. If I push d5, there's e4, and all of a sudden, like we get this position which is very unpleasant for white. So yeah, e5 would come as a big shock here, for sure. I guess I have queen g3 still, which it's a nice move. Now I'm threatening the bishop, so he can't really take here because of this pin. But if you don't see this in advance, it's not good. But okay, my opponent played queen h4, and this move got me thinking a lot because it's such a weird move for me to play queen h4 in this position. It didn't cross my mind. If I was playing back at black, I don't think it would ever cross my mind. It's a very interesting move though, and here I started like seeing possible threats that I didn't see before, and I was very concerned, you know. E5 again was causing me a lot of headache. I thought, okay, but to maybe counter e5, I play rook fd1, but here I thought like bishop h5, and all of a sudden I'm screwed. Of course, I still have g4, but like this weakening my king's position wasn't in my plans at all. And again, I just didn't see where to put my pieces to avoid e5, because I thought that it would always be coming. I guess it's not good, but it is a move and it's playable, and I decided, okay, I don't want to enter all these sharp lines. I'm even missing moves and stuff like that, so I'm just gonna play queen g3 and propose a queen trade. My opponent took, I took back, and we reached this position where I thought that my opponent had to be a bit better because of my weak structure. Like I have double pawns, I have 3 pawn islands, my opponent only has 2. But I was happy about some things in my position, you know. I think this knight is still misplaced here. My rooks are kind of well placed on semi-open files, and my knight has some prospects of jumping to c5, bishop e2, bishop f3 to reroute the bishop. I wasn't feeling too bad about my position. I just thought it would be a long game that I had to outplay my opponent in this queenless middle game. So okay, here my opponent goes rook d7, which is already going in the wrong direction. Now I have knight b3, which was my plan. I'm already threatening knight c5, so kind of unpleasant. My opponent goes knight d8, rerouting the knight, but yeah, it's kind of sad that you had to make this move. Ideally, you would want to play knight e7 to play knight d5, but yeah, then it would be like losing some pawns due to some tactics. Okay, knight d8, knight c5, rook e7, and here I was very confident because I thought that just in a few moves my opponent just gave me an advantage because my pieces are way better coordinated and placed than him. So okay, I play bishop e2, fixing my least well placed piece. It was the bishop. This diagonal is way better than the other diagonal. So c6, rook fd1, a5. This a5 move will prove to be very bad in the future. The a5 I didn't understand. Maybe my opponent wanted to go a4. I play bishop f3, but now my opponent plays rook c8, and now this knight a4 even is stronger than it was before. After rook c7, my opponent kind of traps his own rook here, can't move. So yeah, like this is turning out to be a disaster for my opponent. Here he actually played e5, which it's a nice idea, but it fails and loses on the spot because of tactics. Here I took on e5, which is the incorrect move. That allows my opponent to kind of you know, breathe a little bit with knight e6, and now even though he's down a pawn, like his knight is active again, and you know, has some prospects, and this pawn is weak, double pawn, so yeah, he still has some chances for counterplay. But here I completely missed this tactic. I did consider d5, which seems very, very logical. I'm threatening a fork with d6, so my opponent would have to take. But here, yeah, I thought, okay, knight d5 takes on c1, I take back, and it just moves the rook, and he's attacking my knights. And yeah, I'll probably have to move the knight somewhere, and it's not so clear. I don't think I'm doing that much better here. So yeah, the problem is that I missed that after knight takes on d5, rook takes c1 is not check, it's not a forcing move. I don't have to take back. I can first give this intermediate check on e7 and I win the game. Knight e6, I played h4 to stop knight g5. Here my pawn played knight f8, I played rook c5. Okay, I'm getting the second pawn, which it's starting to be a little bit too much for my opponent. This knight f8 move was not good because it allowed rook c5, which was my plan all along. But okay, my opponent wanted to trade knights. We traded knights, and then I played rook d4. Nice move. Rook e7. I give a check first to misplace the king, and then I take on a5. And now my opponent can't really take on e5 because it's defended. You might think, okay, b6, but the problem with b6 is that I get my rooks on the back rank. Now I'm threatening mate. After bishop moves, I can play h5, and it's unstoppable mate in a few moves. So still very, very tough. My pawn can't get the pawn back immediately. He plays a bishop e1, maybe with the idea of, you know, getting some space for his king, maybe, but I immediately bring the rook back to attack the bishop. Bishop c2, rook d2, bishop e1. I was definitely not going for a draw here. I played rook c5, g6, king f2, improving my king, rook c8, rook c1, attacking the bishop, bishop a2. Here we were on move 38. We were almost getting to the time control. I was trying to get into the time control to get the extra 30 minutes, and yeah, we were low on the clock here. So rook c3, rook e8 with a, you know, a lot of pressure here on the e5 pawn. But now, you know, I reached time control with this move before. My opponent plays bishop e1, and now I am in time to play rook c5. And again, my opponent here played rook a8, but again, I just want to illustrate that taking this pawn is not good for my opponent yet, because after the trades I get this move and I'm winning back. I'm winning a pawn, very important pawn, and this position is just collapsing. So yeah, it's very tough. Even though like this pawn sacrifice kind of solved a little bit of his problems, it still is a pawn that it's hard to get. And yeah, it's very tough with these doubled e pawns that are putting a lot of pressure on the position. So yeah, rook a8 attacking a3, I defend. He goes king g7, I go rook c1, bishop f5, e4, bishop e6, rook c3, king f8. And here I thought that I was making a lot of progress, bringing my king closer. King e8, rook d6, rook c7. Here I thought that I was gonna win because yeah, my opponent is running out of moves, and yeah, he's not doing anything active to get counterplay. So yeah, king f4, king e7, just bishop g4. If I trade bishops, it's better for me, honestly, to just trade down with extra material. He doesn't want to trade, but I forced the trade with rook d2. Now the bishop doesn't really have anywhere to go, so he has to go back to e6. We trade. He takes with the king. I give this check, king e7, and now I precisely play rook d3 to not allow any trades along the d file. Here my opponent plays rook g8, g4, rook g7, g5, h5, and now the final touch to seal the deal is e6. And now, no matter what, I'm getting my king into e5, and it's just too much. c5 by my opponent, finally trying some counterplay, but it's too late. Here I play king e5, and we very quickly get into the winning position here after we shuffle a bit. I just pushed my e pawn, and after e7, rook c6 check and king d7, my opponent resigned, and I won my first game of the tournament, which I was very happy about. Very long game, very tough, but in the end, a win feels always very nice, and I got my first win. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye bye.